Hey, what's happening? YouTubers are back with another Marvel retro review. And in light of the latest Thor Love and Thunder trailer, I thought what better retro review to do next than this old school Hasbro movie series Thor Walmart exclusive. And in case you're wondering, yes, this is the same Thor figure I picked up during my toy hunting vlog at Toy Department when I was in Ohio. And again, if you haven't been there before and you're ever in the Ohio area, specifically Dayton, Cincinnati, I highly recommend checking them out. I'll leave a link to their Instagram and their website in the description below. And also, just to clarify, yes, this is a movie series figure from Hasbro, not a Marvel Legends. This came out around the time like 2011, I believe. This, Captain America, the First Avenger, Iron Man 1 and 2, and I believe the Incredible Hulk had a few movie series lines as well. This is kind of like a precursor to Marvel Legends because there was a time when Hasbro wasn't doing Marvel Legends, and this was kind of a precursor to that. They were releasing 6-inch figures, but they were only specifically for the movie series line. Now, depending who you ask, some Marvel Legends collectors will consider these Marvel Legends, others won't. They'll be like, technically it's a movie series. I don't really give a shit. I mean, this scales well with Marvel Legends, and honestly, a lot of the tooling and sculpting are of that of a Marvel Legends, especially the ones that came out back then when they had the return of Marvel Legends. But anyways, that's enough about all of that. Let's get started with the box art first. So on the top left-hand side of the box, you see the image of Chris Hemsworth's Thor, and it's crazy to see that because of like how young he was in this photo, and it's crazy to think that this movie is over 10 years old now. But on the right-hand side, it says Avengers Assemble with the SHIELD logo in the middle. You see Iron Man, Captain America, and Thor. And I remember this logo being used on the Captain America First Avenger boxes as well. I guess this was kind of hyping us up for the Avengers movie that'd come the following year. And then in the middle here, you see Marvel Studios, Thor, the Mighty Avenger. And I'm trying to remember back then how the marketing was for this, because I don't think they ever referred to him as the Mighty Avenger during like the commercials. It's interesting because I wonder if they put this there because Captain America was the first Avenger and they wanted to classify Thor as the Mighty Avenger. I don't know. I don't really remember. It's been over 10 years, like I said. And then on the front side, you also see the only at Walmart exclusive sticker, movie series Thor, includes Battle Hammer, which is aka Mjolnir. And there isn't a lot going on the right side of the box. It's like this weird logo. I don't know what the hell that is. But on the left-hand side, on the bottom, you can see the image of Thor. I don't know why they put that there. And then on the back of the box, you see the full image artwork of the action figure Thor. Includes Battle Hammer with lightning bolts around it. And then the other figures in the wave, you get the Thor hammer. Then you get Lord of Asgard Thor. Then you also get Loki. That Loki figure I saw at Toy Department last year for like $30. I wish I would have picked it up. It was mint on card, but I was like, nah, you know what? I have the Marvel Legends one. I don't need this. Big mistake. I wish I would have picked that up. And of course, there's a little bio on Thor. Feel free to pause this if you want to go ahead and read it. All right, that's enough about the packaging art. Let's get Thor out of this box, and it's going to pain me to do this just because it looks so nice aesthetically, but I want to take a look at the figure, so let's go and do this. All right, here's Thor, Odin's son, out of the box. Let's take a look at his one accessory first, aka Mjolnir. So we'll take a look at the hammer. I really like the paint application on here, the silver gritty paint, I guess you could call it. On there looks really nice. You see the details of Mjolnir, even the small patterns inside. I think this is pretty good, even by 2011 standards, and even today's standards. Like, this is pretty nice. I do just notice some details missing on the strap, but I'll do a size comparisons or a comparison between this hammer and the modern ones we've gotten. But I'll do that comparison later because I want to take a look at the figure first. And like always, though, we're going to start with the head sculpt. And I guess it kind of looks like Chris Hemsworth. I'm not sure. I mean, yeah, in certain angles, you can definitely see Chris Hemsworth likeness. And for the time, they weren't using photoreal tech. So in terms of the sculpting and the technology they had back then, it doesn't look bad. It looks like him. It does seem surreal and goofy to see him wearing the helmet just because we've only ever seen him wear this once, and that was in Thor 1. Of course, he had the one in Ragnarok, but I'm talking about like Asgardian gear, like the helmet. This is the closest we've got to see him in almost comic form. And I do like the way Hasbro sculpted the hair inside the helmet, so you can see it's clearly on there, and then also the way it's sculpted in the back as well. And there is a lot of nice attention to detail on this helmet sculpt. You can see right here the details within there. Like they could have easily just sculpted one half and been like, screw it, the other half is blank, but they didn't, so that was pretty cool. Now we'll take a look at the rest of the figure. Much like the helmet and the sculpting of it, I'm thoroughly impressed with the rest of the figure in terms of like the paint application and the details sculpted on there. Like, check out the chain armor on his arm. Like, that looks impressive. Like, you see the silver finish. It looks gritty, like he's been through battle. And I like the silver application on here as well. Like, there's a lot of attention to detail on this figure, and I think this is pretty impressive, especially back in the day. I'm going to have to rewatch Thor 1 because there's a lot of details and pattern on his boots that I never noticed until now. Of course, this could be just concept art, but I'm not sure because I feel like a lot of the figures back then that were produced from Hasbro and Marvel wasn't as strict in terms of like, oh, what can be revealed and what can't. I think this is pretty movie accurate in my opinion. The only thing I don't like though is in terms of the cape, you can see it's clearly sculpted one way, like more towards this way, like it is in the comics, which is nice. It's all sculpted towards the left side. So when standing it up, let's go ahead and zoom out here. It's kind of like a struggle because on one side it's way longer, so it's going to stand, but you're going to have to lean it towards like the left side. That's why in packaging his like torso was tilting this way. And as much as I'd want to just replace this plastic cape with a cloth goods one from GPS Lot, I kind of want to just keep it the way it is because it's a pretty impressive tooling for something that came out over 10 years ago. Now, when taking a look at articulation, that's another story too. It does have a diaphragm cut. It does go far back a lot, but you can't really move it forward too much. It's like about there, like that. It does have double jointed elbows, a bicep swivel. Hey, check that out, thigh swivel as well. Double jointed knees, and then there is some ankle articulation, but the only thing is it's being hindered by the boot because it's kind of like sculpted down, so you can only pivot it certain ways. Okay, and one thing I noticed, I thought, just to show you, let me zoom in here, I thought these legs could kick out, but it's kind of using something similar to like the ball joints that Toy Biz used to use or that Hasbro used early on. I don't like that at all. That sucks. So basically, you have to turn this in order to kick his leg out. And then when wanting to turn it back in, you have to kind of like bend this a little bit to move it in. Because I thought this was just be like a little hinge that you can just move the leg forward. But no, you actually have to slide this part right there in order to kick his leg out like you see like right there. That looks ugly to me, but it's not as prominent as other figures like you've seen before. Like just for comparison, here is the Captain America one from the first Avenger. No, from Avengers 1, sorry. That ball joint looks ugly. It's kind of similar technology to that, but at least it blends well with his pants. All right, now we're going to jump right into size comparisons. And I'm going to try and go in order, so bear with me, y'all. But basically, here's this movie series Thor 1. Sitting next to a couple Marvel Legends Thor. We have Thor from Dark World, that was in the 2-pack with Lady Sif. And then Thor from Thor Ragnarok in his Gladiator Thor outfit. And like I mentioned, these two were the only times we saw Thor with that helmet. And in terms of scaling and size comparisons, you can see why some collectors consider these Marvel Legends because they essentially are in terms of the same scale size as these two you see right here. Now, when it comes to the cape, you can see what I'm saying right now, how the cape's kind of drifting a little bit more towards the left, whereas the one from Dark World is just stagnant and flat. I'd rather have this than this right here, but to each their own. And just for some head swaps, they do work. If I pop this head off this Thor figure, it's using the same ball peg. The only thing is it looks kind of weird, so I'll show you what I mean. So there's pegs in right there. Doesn't that look a little weird? Like, I mean, it can kind of work in some angles, but it just looks like his neck's too skinny. And then if I try it with the Thor Ragnarok one, because he is using a helmet or wearing a helmet in this one kind of works better, but I don't know. His head looks a little too big on this body. And like looking at this figure, he kind of looks like more like Carl Urban than he does Chris Hemsworth. And getting back to my point about sculpting, this is a figure Hasbro produced in 2011. This is one that they produced in 2019. Yes, the original Buck, I would say, I think it's from Age of Ultron. But you see what I'm saying in terms of sculpting? Like, that's still impressive by today's standards. And I know these are two different iterations, but when comparing them side by side, I actually prefer the Thor 1 look over the Thor Dark World look. And next size comparison here is sitting next to more Marvel Legends Thor figures. We have the Infinity War Thor from the Call Obsidian Build-A-Figure wave and the Endgame Thor from the Infinity Saga wave. And the only thing is, I don't know why they made Thor shorter. I guess for scaling purposes, this is probably more accurate, but I kind of like the little bit taller figure than the shorter version. Let me know what you think in the comments below. In my opinion, this is my favorite iteration of Thor, was his Infinity War look. And next size comparison here he is sitting next to the Marvel Legends Odin from the Infinity Saga line and the Marvel Legends Heimdall from the Bro Thor Build-A-Figure wave. In my opinion, this Heimdall figure is one of Hasbro's best photo Realtech figures. Like, that's Idris Elba to a T. I think I might compose my own top 10 photo Realtech figures. I did do a tournament late last year in which Tony Stark won, but I think I want to hold another one this year with new figures, especially with the new Thor Love and Thunder wave coming out, but this is still one of my favorite figures from Hasbro's MCU line. And next size comparison here is Thor standing next to more Guardians. We have the Marvel Legends Valkyrie from that same Bro Thor Build-A-Figure line I was talking about with Heimdall, and Lady Sif from that 2-pack with Thor. And I'm hoping with Thor Love and Thunder, there's rumors that Lady Sif is set to return. Hopefully she is, because we didn't get any closure or anything on her character in Ragnarok, and I was kind of disappointed. So hopefully we do see her in Thor Love and Thunder. And next size comparison here is Thor standing next to his siblings. We have the Marvel Legends Loki, that was a 2-pack with Corvus Glaive, and the Marvel Legends Hela, that was a reissued 2-pack with Scourge. Next size comparison, Jesus Christ, I didn't realize how many Thor figures we actually had from Hasbro. But next size comparison, here he is next to the Marvel Legends Korg and Grandmaster. Now these two were a 2-pack, and like looking at it now, I think this version of Thor would have fit Grandmaster's like idea of a warrior, of a fighter he'd want in his arena, because in Thor 1 he was very bloodlust and very hungry for like war. And next size comparison, here he is next to the Marvel Legends Sylvie from the What If wave and the Mezco Thor from Thor Ragnarok. And next size comparison here is the Holy Trinity of the MCU that some people say. We have the Marvel Legends Captain America from the Bro Thor wave, but this was Captain America's appearance in Avengers 1. And then we have the Iron Man Mark III from the Infinity Saga line. And now for a random ass size comparison, here he is sitting next to a couple of McFarlane Toys My Hero Academia figures. We have Deku, Not Todoroki, and Ochako. I shouldn't heart, because I did mention I'll do a comparison between the different Mjolnir hammers. The one on the far left is the one of the figure I'm reviewing today from Thor 1. The one on the right is from Thor Dark World. The third one is from the Worthy Cap, I believe it is, the Marvel Legends Worthy Cap, Walmart exclusive. And then on the far right is from the Endgame Infinity Saga Thor. And in my opinion, I feel like they kind of took a step back, because when comparing the different applications and paint details on the first hammer to Thor Dark World, they just completely didn't give a shit about it. So like, check out the detail on here and check out the detail on the second one. Same goes for Worthy Cap, but it's kind of funny to me that Worthy Cap has the biggest hammer out of all of them. And then the Endgame one was using essentially the same thing, but one thing I will say is they added more detail on the strap right here than they did on the first two. But the hammer itself looks better than all these other ones, in my opinion. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Last size comparison, here he is standing next to the Marvel Legends Stan Lee. Alright, so for retro reviews, there's usually two final thoughts. One, through the lens of a collector today in 2022, I think this thing looks great. I still think it holds up well and fits in any collection in Marvel Legends display, and I think the articulation still holds up. The only thing I don't like is the cape sculpted one way, like swinging in one direction. I'm not really a fan of that. I know with McFarlane Toys, they sculpt beautiful capes, but the problem is it's always like swinging in one direction. I'm not really a fan because it hinders it from toy photography. Now, through the lens of a collector in 2011, when this was originally released, I absolutely love it, mainly because in my opinion, this was kind of ahead of its time. The sculpting, the articulation, and even the likeness to Chris Hemsworth, because I think that definitely looks like him. Given that they didn't have the photo real tech, they still did a fantastic job sculpting that face. But yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments below, YouTubers. What do you think about this figure? Did you have this back in the day? And are you looking forward to Thor Love and Thunder? Let me know in the comments below. And like always, if you like what you see, be sure to hit the like button. If you haven't already yet subscribed to the channel, go ahead and subscribe. Thanks for watching. In 2011, like you could see the Jesus Christ, my fucking neighbor's loud upstairs.